Hello, good evening. Welcome to this very special, very special edition of Good Evening Ghana. Straight from the airport, the former Minister of Youth and Sports, Elvis Afriyie Ankrah, who is now a minister at the office of the president, has arrived from Brazil. So many issues to talk about. I'm not too sure what the first question should be because the questions are a million. And I don't know whether the minister has a million answers, but we'll do our best. And sit back, enjoy the interview. Have the confidence that we'll ask all the questions. If we don't, chastise us. But we are sure that we will. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You've come back to a sad Ghana. People think you are responsible for Ghana being sad.
I am sadder. I'm hurt, and I feel the pains. And I think that Ghanaians have every reason to be angry. We went out there with great expectations and hope that we're going to make Ghana proud. We worked exceedingly hard, and it was our expectation that at least we'll get to the semifinals. I think we had a good team. Somehow, so many circumstances conspired against us, and we did not achieve our objective. Therefore, as the leader of the delegation, I take full responsibility for what happened. I apologize to Ghanaians. I apologize to the president for not being able to achieve our objectives. And it's been one of the most difficult and traumatic events in my life. I think that sometimes when you're used to success, I always win. I always get results. I always organize things, whether it's party, national events. I always do it by the grace of God with perfection. Somehow, things just didn't work in spite of our best efforts, and it breaks my heart. And I know that Ghanaians are heartbroken. I am very sorry. There are many other issues that are not directly related to my conduct, but I take general responsibility, and I believe that in the course of time we'll deal with specific issues.
We will talk about a lot, and when we come from the break, we'll start with the money, and that has brought Ghana some general public, global ridicule, I should say. Yeah. People have tweeted, people have written articles condemning our country and sort of eroding all what we have achieved as a modern country. We'll talk about all of that money issues. We even know that there's a Hollywood film that is coming up. We'll also talk about some of the allegations against you, the role that your family may have played at the World Cup, your mother, your sisters, cooking for the Black Stars, and also some issues even about your own, perhaps, infidelity. It was rumored that there were some incidents at the camp that left much to be desired. We would like you to answer all the questions in this no-holds-barred interview, Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity.
After the break, it's Elvis Afriyie Ankrah. We'll be right back. Welcome back to this very special edition of Good Evening Ghana stroke our World Cup Diaries, coming to you at an odd time on Metro TV tonight. Elvis Afriyie Ankrah is our guest. If you have just joined us in the studio, join us live on TV, you haven't missed much. He has given an introduction, generally taking responsibility. But what was that money for? Some people say it was appearance fees. We also know of winning bonus. What was the money for, and how much were the players expecting?
Okay, that was the appearance fees. You recall that before we left Ghana, or a few months before, and there was this whole debate about the budget for the team. And one of the issues that came up was appearance fees. The players had proposed 100,000 each. It's a one-stop money that is paid to them for appearing.
They wanted 100,000?
Yes, 100,000. We negotiated with them, and we did an increment of 10% over the previous World Cup.
Okay.
So it was 75%, 75,000, with 10% on top of it, came up to 80-something thousand.
For each player?
Yes. And that was a proposal we sent to Cabinet. Naturally, because of the uproar, you know, there was so much consternation and discussion. The economy is in dire straits. So Cabinet took a position that we were not going to be able to pay them the 83,000 or the 100,000. So we should maintain the 75,000.
Okay.
And this was duly communicated to the players. Now, as far as I'm concerned, this is a Cabinet decision. When we got to Rotterdam, after the match with Holland, then we held a meeting, and the players said that after deliberations, they felt that they had to maintain their 100,000, and they also needed their money in cash. it took me aback. So I told them,
Oh,
well...
that's interesting. So this is Rotterdam?
Yes.
This is not yet in Brazil?
Yes. So I said, look, this is a cabinet decision, and I don't have the power and authority to change the cabinet decision. I made it absolutely and abundantly clear that, look, I cannot vary a cabinet decision. So we got to Brazil, and before the first match, the matter came up very seriously. They said that, look, if they don't get their money and they don't get the 100,000, they were going to behave like Cameroon. And in the past, we've had such situations, and we always negotiated with them. I have a very good relationship with them. But this time around, I saw that there was something wrong. They were extremely adamant. All the arguments that we raised about the state of the economy, the reaction of Ghanaians, and the pride at stake, you know, the international platform that will boost their own career. We said everything possible, and they stood their ground. Fortunately for me,
before the US game?
Yes.
Okay.
So fortunately for me, His Excellency the Vice President was there, and so I went to him and I briefed him, and I told him this is the situation I find myself in. When we went to Cabinet for a briefing, we went to the FA, and on that day, we were asked about 46 questions. Now that should tell you...
Who at the FA? The
Cabinet.
President of the
FA?
Yes,
the entire FA.
So you and the entire
Yes,
FA were
briefed,
Cabinet?
yes, Cabinet, and we're asked over 40 questions, you know, about the budget.
Was the President in attendance?
The President was chairing the Cabinet. So that should tell you, I think the President even asked us questions. So that should tell you the seriousness of the matter. So I didn't see how I could by myself overturn a cabinet decision. So I went to the Vice President and briefed him. And we did our analysis and we said, okay, we've spent so much on them. If it is that extra money that will make them contented and make them give of their best, let's just do it so that we will not have any regrets. So their last training, just the day before the match, he came to the field and told them their issues have been looked at and they will get their money in due course. So,
did he say 100?
No, he said they will get their money in due course. Okay. But between us, we had agreed that, you know, looking at what we've put in and where we had come to, you didn't want to risk because of a little difference. And indeed, the FA had made arrangements that they could even top up to the 10%, you know. When Cabinet
from FA's resources?
Yes,
okay.
From sponsorship.
Okay.
When Cabinet approves the 75,000, FA said they could raise money to pay up to the 10%. So we said, look, if you look at the difference, it's not much. So let's just give it to them so that they'll be satisfied. Of course, as far as the mode of payment was concerned, it had been communicated to me, and it was public knowledge, that Unibank, being one of the sponsors of the Star, had an arrangement that they were going to put the money on their cards. And so, as far as I was concerned, it was just a question of process. And mind you, the team, we didn't have a full selection of the team before we left Ghana. So once we had now agreed that we're going to give them the 100,000, the next thing was the process. Then my accountant and chief director came to town.
Came to Brazil?
Came to Brazil.
The accountant at the Ministry of Youth and Sports?
Yes, and the chief accountant.
And the chief director?
Yeah, then the chief director. So they came, and then after the match, then things started getting out of hand.
After the US game?
Yes.
We lost 2-1.
Yes. Then they demanded that they wanted their money and they wanted cash. And I recall, the chief accountant, all of us said, okay, then let's transfer the money to the Unibank account, it's a Unibank card. Some of them said they had problems with the Unibank card. Okay, let's put it on your own card. They said, no, let's put it in, wire the money.
To their various accounts?
They said no.
The player said no?
Yes.
They have denied that, Honorable Minister.
It is, and I'm sure the FA confirmed it. You know, this is tried knowledge. It was such that we found ourselves in a very difficult situation.
They said they wanted cash.
They want their money immediately. So I dispatched the chief director and the chief accountant to Ghana. They left, that was on Tuesday where we held a meeting that, look, the best way to solve this problem is to just go and bring them their money. In any case, they were used to cash. In the previous World Cups, they were giving cash. And if we had not consolidated the agreement with Unibank in terms of getting them to sign anything, then we have ourselves to blame. So let's just find them the money. So I dispatched them on Wednesday. They arrived on Friday in Ghana, Friday evening. On Saturday, we got the money. How we got the money, I won't tell you, but we got the money. Okay? And then Saturday evening, they were at the airport.
Accra
Airport.
Back to on their way back to
Yes,
Brazil.
of course, because of the quantum of the money, they couldn't fly commercial.
Yeah,
there was so many risks involved.
Yeah.
So I spoke to the authorities at the National Security, and we had an arrangement that the money would be flown directly. Then the drama started. I was in communication with the National Security, and the indication was that latest by Sunday, the money would arrive. And
the next game was Monday.
Yeah, no, it was 5 days ahead.
Okay. So the next game was still way
yeah, a few days ahead.
Okay.
So then we started working together an aircraft. So from where I stood, I had done all the arrangements. The money was ready. Saturday they couldn't move, and Sunday they came back to the airport at dawn, waiting to move with the money, with security and everything. Sunday they couldn't move. Incidentally, for any aircraft to move, you needed a landing clearance. Now, the Brazilian authorities did not work on Sundays, on weekends. So we were trying to see if we could use our connections, networks, to get them to somebody to make a phone call and get things to move. So I then moved to Natal, where I knew a congressman who then tried to get me to see the governor to see if, in spite of that, we could get clearance. It didn't happen.
Were we playing in Natal at all?
We played the first game in Natal.
So the second, now we're moving somewhere else.
We had gone to Maceió, which was our base. And so the second game was to be in Fortaleza, you know. And so we're going through all those processes. And then on Monday, the briefing I had was that there was a particular plane that was expected, but that did not work.
They couldn't get clearance?
It couldn't get clearance. It didn't work. Let's just leave it at that. There are all kinds of, this, let me say, it was supposed to be a covert operation, but not illegal operation, because the Brazilian authorities were fully briefed that we were going to bring money. So it wasn't illegal, but it was supposed to be quiet and covert. It happens between countries. So Monday, when I was informed that there was a challenge with the aircraft, what I then did was, okay, we had a friend who had an aircraft, and so we arranged that, okay, we would then send the coordinates of that plane for it to get clearance. In the process of that, this was then Tuesday morning, I was told that that plane could not move. Again, there are all manner of issues surrounding that. So Tuesday morning, His Excellency the President called me, and I gave him an update that we're working on either planes, whichever is ready to move. So he asked me where I was. I said I was in Natal working with the congressman and the governor to ensure that we get these clearances, because normally it would take 72 hours. But we were desperate to get them the money so that they could concentrate, because the coach had indicated that he felt that they were not psychologically in a proper frame of mind because of this demand for money. So my objective was, just get them the money anyhow, and then we'll have our peace of mind. So back at the camp, things started deteriorating. They insisted that no money, no training, no money, no match, no money, and we did everything possible. I mean, just to get them to understand that the money will come. There are processes. I spoke to the captain himself. He will confirm that, look, the intention was that we will get this money even on Sunday. But there are processes in terms of landing rights and all that. So we've had some challenges. The money will definitely come. However, the situation you're putting us all in is that if you don't prepare and train and the money comes, how are you going to recover? He said, well, the problem is not with me. The problem is that the guys no longer respect me because they think that I promised them and I failed them.
The captain speaking.
Yes,
Samwajan.
Exactly. So they no longer respect me, and they said they just want their money. I said, yes, I understand where you're coming from, but this is the situation. It's an aircraft, it's not like a Sunyani bus, where you can just sit in. So there are processes. Okay, be that as it may, subsequently, the president decided to intervene, and then we flew the money. The money came, and we checked it through customs. And we delivered the money, and the night before the match against Portugal.
But the Germany game had already finished.
Yes, the money was distributed to them. Mind you, before then, the Germany game, the president spoke to them in the dressing room. The president spoke to them in the dressing room and encouraged them. And I prompted the president that the money issue. So he said, look, your money will come. So I felt that with the presidents, at least if they did not believe me, at least with the president's word, that could hold them. But again, the pressure was intense, especially on the captain. I could feel him really saying, look, this is not my doing. I've tried my best, but they won't listen. I'm the leader of the people, and this is what they're saying, and they want their money. So they missed 2 critical training sessions. And,
ahead of Germany?
Yes, ahead of the last match, the Portugal.
But as a government, did you have a timetable from the time you agreed in cabinet as to how the money will be paid to the players?
There was no problem about, the money had already been released. There was no problem to the ministry.
Okay, so
the money had already, there was no issue about government not ready with the money. It was not a question of the money not being ready.
So
absolutely.
From the ministry, once you had the money.
Once we had the money.
Did you think of processes?
Of course. All we needed was a team sheet, account numbers, and then we work with Unibank and transfer the money. That was when they started saying, no, we don't want the money on the Unibank card. And that was where all these complications came in. So the chief accountant was in Brazil with the chief director when all these issues...
So before you left Ghana, when you had that meeting with the president and all of that, before the team left,
yeah,
did you tell them that your money is secured, it will be paid to your account? Because they could have then said in Ghana that we want the money in cash, and maybe you could have given it to them here.
The point is that the money was ready, the approvals had come, and then it was when we all knew that it was going to be through card. I mean, that there was no question about
Players
that.
agreed?
Yeah, as far as I know.
Given that they had taken such money in cash before, this was new. Did you really get the sense that they accepted this new way of receiving their money?
You need to understand that the FA is my last line of defense. Even though I have very good relations with the players, when it comes to these daily management issues, it's the FA. So if the FA has an agreement with Unibank that they were going to put the money on their cards, as far as I'm concerned, they have agreed. I hope you understand.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
Okay,
you don't need to now go back and
exactly. So it is only when we got there that we realized that they had issues with the card, and you know there are all kinds of things.
But who was the quarrel from the players' point of view? Who were they quarreling with? Was it you? Was it the FA? Who were they quarreling with? When they say we need our money, who did they tell that to?
They were telling the FA, and they were telling me. And I kept on assuring them that you will definitely get your money, because I knew that it wasn't a question of the money not being ready.
Was the FA not aware to be able to give those assurances that you were giving? Couldn't the FA have said, your money is ready, you get it? Why must the minister say that?
Thank you. You see, that is why I'm saying the FA is my last line of defense. Okay? Once the FA, the thing went beyond the FA, and they said, look, the situation is such that, Minister, you need to meet them. And when I met them and I saw their reaction and I saw their body language and I used all the persuasion I could, all the logic. Look, the money will come. The president has spoken to you. The money is available. We have dispatched the team. We will fly the money down. There are logistical challenges, but you will definitely get your money. So be patient. You know, after all that, and you see the body language is that, no, if we don't see our money,
so
you know,
they didn't believe you?
Well, I don't know. But if they didn't, let's assume they didn't believe me. Did they not believe the president?
That's a tough one.
Yes.
Well, we are hearing that the president gave them assurances.
Yes, and I'm told he spoke to them several times. You know, so something went wrong somewhere. And I think that there are all kinds of theories, but at the appropriate time we'll deal with that. I don't want to speculate now, but something went wrong somewhere, because these are players, and they kept on saying that every time we negotiate with you, you win.
That's what they were telling you.
That's what they were saying. We negotiate with you, you win. Now we won't agree. We have to win. Or is it because we have not behaved like Cameroon? I'm just being frank, putting the issues.
Cameroon were doing that at the World Cup.
Yes. So we said, look, we understand, you know, where you're coming from. You get what is due. It is not as if the money is not available. The money will be available. Now you see, that raises all kinds of questions, and I think the FA spokesman, communication director, alluded to it. That then creates a certain mindset that, okay, was it that from the beginning they felt, okay, what if we don't qualify? Now, if you're going to approach...
Qualify from their first group stages, yeah.
If you're going to approach a project from that perspective, then you are creating a psychological defeatist mentality for yourself.
But Minister, don't you take responsibility for a difference in sort of transaction? 2 World Cups before, according to the FA, monies were given before they went. But here's your tenure, money is ready, you've done your cabinet analysis. Don't you take responsibility for not ensuring that and getting to the FA and say, let's deal with this before we travel?
No, but the point is, if I've been told that the money will be transferred to them, and we left here without a full complement of a team.
Because you wouldn't have known.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay? And the accountant's purpose for coming there was to finalize those details and send the money to them.
Well, that's why the accountant was on the trip.
Exactly.
Okay.
Okay? So it was just a question of, and even in the course of this, one of the things we considered was, look, let's transfer the money to them. Within an hour, 30 minutes, swiftly, they'll see it.
Why didn't you do that? When the players come and say, we need cash, you say, well, we have transferred it to your accounts. Here is the evidence that you have the money. And then let
I'm sure you've heard about the FIFA intervention as well.
Yes.
FIFA offering
FIFA
that, look, they would pay. You should have been there.
That was late.
You should have been there to see the body language. You see,
I'm talking about in Holland.
Yes.
Before the World Cup.
No, but the point is that when you are engaging people, okay, you're not engaging automatons.
Yeah.
You're engaging human beings. So you look at their body language, you look at their tone, their manner, okay, and you can just sense that, look, the best way to deal with this thing, of course, with the benefit of hindsight. And next time, and I agree with the FA, you will sign an agreement. This is the mode of payment, because there was there was a general understanding. Let me put it that way, that the monies were going to put on card. Let me put it that way, okay? And now they come back and say, we want our money, we want our cash. So you find yourself between a rock and a hard place, and you have matches upcoming. And the coach tells you, solve this money problem so that the players can concentrate. If you're in my shoes, what will you do?
Did anyone receive some of this money apart from the players?
As far as I know, it's the players and the technical team, the 23 players, and the 10-man technical team, so made up of 33 people.
Does that include FA officials, this technical team?
No.
So no FA official received some of this money?
No. In the past, I'm told that FA officials received some quantum of it. But between me and the vice president, we said, we actually wanted to give only the 23 players. And that's what we communicated. And later on, the feedback was that if you talk about playing body, it includes the 10-man technical team. And so they also got...
So did they also receive 100,000?
They also got what they were supposed to get.
Okay. Did you, as minister, receive something?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not a penny. Not a cent.
So when the money arrived, how was the distribution? Was it on a table where you take 100,000 because we saw photographs of people kissing money?
The important point is that the money came, it was cash, and everybody was given and they signed for it. That's it.
Is it true that the players asked you to leave the camp unless you could provide the money?
No, they don't.
Did you leave the camp?
Yes, I left.
Why?
It was strategic. I decided that until I carried the money and brought it to them, they were not going to see me. Because that was the communication. Okay? Not verbal, but after all the persuasion, you've asked me, why didn't I do this? Why didn't I do that? I did everything possible, okay, trying to persuade them that it was not a question of the money will not come. The money will definitely come. But there are practical challenges. Nobody anticipated that you have a weekend where they don't work in Brazil. Nobody anticipated that the following Monday, Brazil will be playing a match, and therefore, they close half day when Brazil is playing a match. And so the civil aviation people will close early and leave, and therefore the filing of the coordinates will delay. Nobody, so all these things came in and said, look, you will definitely get your money. But at that point, I needed, my main focus was to just move, talk to the governor, talk to the congressman, go, and let me commend the ambassador, Wallace Bedema. He did exceedingly well. He was, whilst I was in Natal working with the governor and the congressman, he was in Brasilia, running from Air Force Station to civil aviation, together with his boy who does this, Ebo, just trying to ensure that we get clearance for whichever aircraft to land. So,
when you were not in the camp, you were organizing the money. When they asked for their money after the US game, were you aware that the process of carrying the money on the plane will require some documentation that could take days, which would have then informed the way in which you promised them that if you want your money in cash, it's going to take 10 days. If you want it on the card, we can put it on now. Take a decision. Were you aware that all of these processes were going to undertake?
First of all, I, on my part, managed to get the money on Saturday. Okay, I was working with people back home, people I cannot mention for obvious reasons. And therefore, once the money was ready, I didn't know which aircraft or whatever was going to come. So I was waiting for feedback. Okay, the money can come. We've got the money, everything ready. We are working on aircraft, and therefore within the next maximum 24, 48 hours, the money will come. Okay. Then I'm then informed that, look, because of this weekend problem, there are issues with clearance. So is there any way, anything you can do? Then I decide, okay, let me just see if I can use some political networks to see if in spite of the weekend, we can get across all those bureaucracies. And we tried and tried and tried. And it worked, but it didn't work at the time that we were expecting.
You're watching a very special edition of Good Evening Ghana, and also World Cup Diaries coming to you from Metro TV. Honorable Elvis Afriyie Ankrah is here with us. So you can now maybe, if your friend is not watching, just WhatsApp them to see the program. Minister, let's come to some also very touchy issues. Player insubordination, or so-called player insubordination. Kevin Prince Boateng is very, very upset. And he's spoken, he's written, Michael Essien has written. One of the low-hanging fruits that he picks that we can all talk about is this so-called long flight, and you put the players in the coach of the plane. They couldn't stretch their legs. It was going to affect them health-wise and strength-wise and physically, because they had to stretch their legs and be able to have a serene sort of body condition for the game. You ignored all that, and apparently your family, you, the FA president and others, were sitting in front of the plane in the business class, and the players were at the back of the plane. Kevin Prince Boateng bemoans that. He thinks it's backward. Did that happen?
Well, first of all, my family were not on that flight. My family went to Brazil on their own. They went through TAP Portugal, so they were not on that flight. Secondly, it is the FA that is responsible for all those traveling arrangements. And thirdly, flight. And it was a very big aircraft. I think, if I'm not mistaken, 120, 150 seater, and we were less than 100. I saw some of them in business class. Subsequently, they were all at the back, as we say, Shin Jama, and having fun, because there was a very interesting incident that the team manager had left his passports, you know, and the plane almost left him. So before we took off, they had all gathered, and they were praying and singing and teasing him. So when he came, they all moved towards him. And as far as I'm concerned, they had a lot of fun. And because it was
on that flight?
Yes, because it was an empty flight, people could stretch, you know, their seats and all that. So really, and in any case, when we travel with the team, it's not all of them. The senior players are the ones who sit in business class, and there were enough seats in the business class. I saw some of them there, but eventually they went and joined their colleagues. So I don't know the technical specifications of the plane to determine that it was not comfortable or anything, but there was enough space. And if you take a chartered flight, definitely not everybody can sit in business class. That's the reality. Mm-hmm. But there was enough space for others, those who regularly sit in business class, to sit in business class.
Mm. But Kevin didn't complain then?
I didn't hear him complain about it.
There were also issues about the hotel. You know.
Well, I had complaints about hotels. The thing is that the hotels, for the various match venues, the hotels are provided by FIFA. And these are hotels that other teams stay in. Portugal, the other teams we played with, you know, and other teams that had played earlier, they stayed in all those similar hotels. In fact, when we got to Natal, and they wanted to change their hotel, a hotel which I'm told, I don't want to be mistaken, I think one of the teams in Mexico also had stayed in, and Portugal, one of them had stayed in. We made arrangements to move them to another hotel, and I have the email. And FIFA was written to that the boys are complaining, and FIFA said this was the arrangement, and that if we move, we're going to be sanctioned. The FA will be sanctioned.
Oh, I see.
Yes, at that point, yes. It is documented. So at that point, you don't want to risk what kind of sanction is not stated. And the point is that these are hotels that other teams too had stayed in.
But from your own assessment, were they bad hotels or good hotels?
Absolutely not. Absolutely.
What was the specific complaint of the players about the hotel? Did they worry that the rooms were too small? Did they worry that the dining hall was too small? Did they worry that the gym was not inadequate?
Again, you know, when we talk about complaints, I think that I did not see a general atmosphere of complaints by all of them. for me, what I sensed was some people, a few of them were always, leading
on the
charge.
forefront.
Exactly. And that made me very uncomfortable because I've been with this team. At the point I was called the Black Stars minister throughout the qualifiers and everything. And we are like family. We're very, we sing together. They tease me. They call me. So, but these seniors, most of them joined the team almost at the tail of the end of the qualifiers.
At the Egypt game in Kumasi.
Exactly. And for the preparation for the World Cup, that was the only time that they had the opportunity to be with the rest of the team for a long time. So I think the chemistry changed a little bit. It wasn't like before.
Who are these senior players? Let's name them.
I don't think it's important. I think that the FA, they've given their report, and there's a committee in place. President has said there should be a committee. I hope that committee is put in place, and those facts will emerge. But I don't want to pick on specific players.
There was also a story on DSTV in which you were said to have left the food of the team, and you were shown on television looking for money to buy.
No. I think that was just what had happened was that the caterer, cook, told us all her food was seized. So right across the hotel there was a stall where there was fish. So we were looking at the fish and we called her to come and said, "Look, is this fish good enough?" We didn't know. We didn't.
How did she get her stuff seized? Was it poor planning? What happened?
No. I think the Brazilian authorities, they can be. We've traveled with her everywhere, and most of the time she's allowed to bring her things in. But this time around, they seize her food. I mean, they have their country, they have their laws. So then she said the hotel advised that if she wanted fish, they showed her a specific place where she could get fish, and that I didn't even know it was going to be broadcast. It's really not an issue that we should waste time on. I think it's.
We'll take another break. When we come back from the break, we'll talk about who was cooking for the Black Stars and this so-called fun pack, Ghana Village, who organized it. The taxpayers pay for it, where celebrities paid $20,000 to attend this fun pack. Did the minister have any sort of complication in selecting the people who went into this fun pack? And then we get back onto footballing matters. After the break, we'll be back. Welcome back. Thank you very much for staying with us on this special edition of the program. And Honorable Minister, thank you very much for your time. In this session, we'll talk about Supporters Union, the big story about where they stayed. Did they stay in a bad place? Was it poorly organized? And then we'll also talk about when the preparation towards the World Cup, how was the budget arrived at, and a few stuff like that. And then we'll come to politics and the political future of the minister. We'll ask him what his political future is right now, given that he's now moving from sports to be a minister in the office of the president. Is it true that your family members were cooking for the Black Stars? There should be nothing wrong with that, but I just want to get the fact.
That's absolutely untrue. First of all, we have a cook for the Black Stars. The team has its own caterer. You're talking about supporters. That is the allegation. That my family, absolutely not. None of my family members, apart from my son, who was always following me, ever went to the camp. So they had absolutely nothing.
So who was cooking for them then?
First of all, we had a committee. When we realized that we had to go, we set up a committee. It was made up of various stakeholders, various institutions, and then there are various subcommittees. And so these subcommittees had chairmen, and the Supporters Welfare Committee, they interviewed about, I don't know, I've forgotten the number, but several caterers, over 10 of them, and they settled on 3. I think that there were over 40, and they settled on 3, Moniz, Kenke Boutique, and one other. So these
Kenke Boutique that we know?
Yes,
one in,
yes.
Asalam down somewhere?
Yes. So
was it Adabraka, I think?
Adabraka. So they were selected independently. you know, and they went through the process, and they had an agreement with them about how they were going to prepare food and everything. So they were the ones who could. It has nothing to do with me personally or any of my family members, none of their staff. When the story
they were going to prepare
changed,
food for who? The supporters?
The supporters, yes. The
okay,
supporters,
I see.
Yes.
That's interesting.
So when the story said it was my wife, and they realized that it wasn't true, it wasn't possible, she had absolutely nothing to do with it. Then they shifted that, oh, some of their staff, I don't know their staff, they have their own staff, they took them to Brazil. Absolutely untrue. And these are some of the things that are fabrications, absolute, total fabrications, have absolute no basis. And then you find them in the media. And we'll get to that.
There was this famous photograph of you carrying food.
Yes.
What was that about?
Because there were reports that the supporters' food was not good, they were starving. So I spent, anytime I got back to Natal, I spent like half a day with the supporters. You know, I go to their camp, hold a forum with them, listen to them. And they were having supper, and I joined the queue, and I took food, and I went. And then it was on front pages that I was eating players' food. It's not players, it's supporters' food. The food that the supporters were served, that they said it was not palatable, I joined the queue, took the food and ate. And again, they showed people queuing. Even a moving pick or banquet hall, if you have a buffet, don't people queue? They queue. And they took pictures of people in the queue and said people queue to go to the washroom. I mean, so you realize that there was a certain negative, deliberate attempt to...
We'll come to that. This
yes.
so-called conspiracy in a very big way of this program. But this is interesting. You were also photographed with Minister Kwesi Arroy having coconut water. You seem quite excited. And the point was, here's Elvis Afriyie Ankrah. Players have not been paid. They are not training. Supporters have poor places to stay. He and Kwesi Arroy. And Kwesi Arroy should be here looking for armed robbers anyway. But he's in Brazil watching football and having coconut juice.
I mean, I didn't know that having coconut was a crime. I don't know if I was drinking champagne, what would have happened? I don't drink champagne anyway. But after we had certain programs, we had a Ghana in Brazil program where we had a stage. It was an open space, and then we had people like Jedu Bliambole, Amanziba, and then we had the Shabo band, Shabo crew, and performing. And
Shatta Wale?
No, Shatta couldn't make it. He had a program in London, and I can tell you, it was absolutely amazing. We'll show you the video. It was a blast. You know, people from all walks of life. The whole Natal came to a standstill. I don't want to talk about it. You should see it for yourself. And
this was supporters there, or Ghanaians?
Yes, all the supporters
players were there.
So no, the players after each match went back to their base in Marseille. Okay, so I then came back because there were some issues with.
Okay, players were in Marseille. Yeah. Supporters were in Natal.
Their home base is in Marseille. Okay, that's the team's home base. Okay. So depending on the match, we would move just 2 days before the match to where we're going to. So in Natal, 2 days before. Fortaleza, 2 days before. Brasilia, 2 days before. So that's how it works. So the players were based in Marseille and the supporters were based in Natal. So that's how it works. So the supporters were there. This was after we had lost our first match. It had already been planned. The idea was that we were going to win, and so we would jam. But it had already been planned and everything. And the Brazilians gave us so much support. And when we started, we were even thinking that because we had lost, but believe me, it was massive. So we were there.
So that's where those photographs were taken.
I took coconuts. And
I see.
A coconut is very healthy.
Was your mother there at the World Cup? Was she in charge of paraphernalia?
Oh my goodness! She called yesterday, and when I told her, they said you were selling replica jerseys. She didn't understand what replica. What are replica jerseys? What are those? What are you talking about? She was in shock. And my mother doesn't live here. My mother is in UK. She's retired. She's an evangelist. I mean, full time. She doesn't even understand these things. And so please leave my poor mother out. Her prayers are very effective. It's amazing the fabrications. My mother in charge of replica jerseys. My wife in charge of cooking. Where is all this coming from? Absolutely manufactured. No basis. There's a difference between half truth, okay, but where something is totally concocted and manufactured, then you have reason to suspect that somebody is really after you.
Well, how did we pay for celebrities to go to Brazil?
No, we didn't pay.
Who paid?
Let me explain. At a point in our fundraising, mind you, the previous World Cup, when they started, they had seed money from government of 3 million Ghana cedis. This World Cup, because of the hula baloo about the team budget, it was so clear that, I mean, the country's appetites, the country was not ready to spend any money on supporters. In fact, a decision was taken in cabinet that, look, government was not going to support supporters. And even the party NDC itself took a decision that we're not going to send party people to supporters. I made a strong case.
NDC took a decision?
Yes.
That they didn't want party people to travel?
Exactly. Okay? At the National Executive Committee meeting, I made a strong case in cabinet that, yes, we may not use, well, we shouldn't use government resources because of the current conditions. However, in 2006, supporters were sent. In 2010, supporters were sent. And in 2014, if we don't send supporters, it will be a negative against us. So at least I should be allowed to go to corporate Ghana to raise funds and take a handful of supporters. And so I was given the permission to do that. So part of our strategy was that we'll get corporate Ghana. They came to Flagstaff House. We're supposed to meet the president. Unfortunately, he had other engagements. So that the fundraising didn't take off the way we wanted. So as we were going along, we realized that we needed to adopt other strategies, you know. And then we met with former ministers of sports from Osafo Mafo. They advised us. In fact, Osafo Mafo's advice was very strategic. He showed us, you know, which companies we should target strategically and all that, you know. So we decided to do the ambassadors, also as a way of marketing and branding the World Cup. So these ambassadors came on board.
The ambassadors, that's a category of supporters.
Exactly.
Called the ambassadors.
Exactly. And they were made up of musicians. And you know, it was a very difficult thing. We had a whole list of 100, you know, actors, and it was difficult. But somehow the committee did the selection, and I endorsed it because you needed to cut off at a certain point. And so their role was to promote the committee's work, promote the World Cup and all that. And we gave them various companies. There was a chart for them. We had somebody who was supervising them, and every day they went to various companies, you know, distributed letters, met the MDs and spoke. And I believe they contributed to our fundraising.
So they raised money?
Yes, they did.
Okay.
So they contributed.
So you use their popularity to raise money?
Exactly.
So you pay them for that?
No, we didn't. That's the thing. And if you look around, you look at our billboards. There are billboards in town that you have some of them on it eating chocolate and all that. You know, we did a chocolate because we did not have money from central government. So we had to be creative. Okay? So in this creativity, we had to use different kinds of marketing strategies. And so they contributed. And we had chartered flights. Some of them already had assignments, international assignments. So they were going to be in Brazil already. The Sami Kufuors and the...
Sami Kufuors in South Africa.
Yes, South Africa, and Tony Bafo.
Yeah, Tony Bafo was going to be in Brazil for
exactly,
FIFA.
Exactly. So there was no problem. The rest, we decided that we have a chartered flight. You go along with us. That's it.
And you didn't pay them $20,000?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. There's a document going around which people do not understand. Now, in they going out, we did different packages. At a point, the feedback we were getting was that some of the companies were not interested in supporters. But they said, look, if you, the ambassadors, were going to go, you could wear our T-shirts as brand ambassadors. Then we could sponsor you. So we did proposals that assuming you were going to take an ambassador and he was going to fly business class, sleep in a 5-star hotel, XYZ, it was going to cost so much. That does not mean, so these were proposals that were sent out. Somebody picked that document and is circulating it around and saying that we have paid them whatever. We put them in hotels just like anybody else, okay? Normal, there was nothing extraordinary. And they flew on the chartered flights. So we did not pay 20,000 to them.
Are they still there?
No, they're all back.
They're all back?
They're all back.
They went there for Ghana?
Yes.
Wow. That's interesting. Did the players encounter these ambassadors?
Absolutely not.
They didn't?
No. And that is one of my shocks. So somebody put on his blog that they saw them at the players' camp in Maceió and they were chilling at the fan park. That should tell you that this was concocted and manufactured. Because the fan park was not in Maceió. The fan park was in Natal. So how could somebody say that they saw them with the players and with other people?
So our athletes, the players, never got in touch with these people?
No.
So all the stories that are coming out about
not.
Interactions
Look,
with
let me give you my own case study. The kind of security arrangements that FIFA had, okay? Believe me, it was incredible. For instance, in Natal, when they came, I went ahead. So when they came, they had gone into the stadium to train, and I went ahead and I introduced myself. I was the Minister of Sport. It took over an hour. They had to go in there and go and get a team liaison officer to come and escort me. You can't get easy access to the players. It's not that simple. It's very, very difficult.
Wow.
So first of all, this story about the fan park in Marseille, okay, where all these exaggerations and lies, outright lies, fabrications, concocted, manufactured stories came from. It's absolutely untrue, because the fan park was not in Marseille. The players were never at the fan park, and therefore they could not have interacted with anybody.
So Adom-Otchere didn't interact with any of the ambassadors?
Absolutely. After match, dressing room, after dressing room, you can't have access to the dressing room if you do not have accreditation. And after dressing room, and in all these cases, what the FA did was that right after every match, they drive straight to the airport and move back to Marseille. They never spent
what about
night.
you? Did you have any interaction with the ambassadors?
Yes, I've heard all kinds of stories. It's absolutely incredible. The only time that I went to the ambassador's hotel, I went with Professor Alabi and Mr. Daniel, and when we went, it was the footballers who were there.
Footballers?
Yes, the
The
footballers.
ambassador's hotel?
Augustine Ahemfo.
Old footballers.
Old footballers.
Okay, not our athletes, okay.
Augustine Ahemfo, what's his name? The former Ayu.
Kwame
Ayu, Sike Akono, and Ali Jara. The female ambassadors and Dumelo had gone to town. Paul, look at me. For the entire period that I was in Brazil, till today that I'm here at this airport, I have not set my eyes, not even once, on any of those two female ambassadors. Look at me.
Who are the two female ambassadors?
You know? Don't you know?
I know one. I know Miss Appiah.
And the other one you don't know?
No.
Okay. If you don't know, then there's no point.
You have not set your eyes on them?
I did not see them, not even once, not even for a second.
There's a photograph that had you, Mr. Ankrah, Miss Appiah, and Mr. Domelo. There's a photograph like that.
That was at Labadi Beach when we inaugurated ambassadors.
Oh, it wasn't in Brazil?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. Total fabrication. Absolute, and that is why we have to look at that. Who is behind all these things? Manufacturing stories started with my wife is the cook. Then they realized it's not true. They changed it. My wife is fronting. Ridiculous stories, It
must be very hard on you, that particular one, given that your wife was in.
I was shocked. I mean, I was
Your
shocked.
wife was
And
in
I just said, wow. I mean, my wife lost the mother. We buried the mother. In a week, we had to go to Brazil. And 2 years ago, the past 3 years, she's lost two brothers and the mother. And we buried the mother just a week. So I thought I should take her along with my son and daughter. Okay? So I'm just asking myself, assuming she was not with me and she was hearing all these stories. I mean, she believes in me, but hey, she's human. I did not set ever, not for a second, not at a distance. I don't have their numbers, both local and Brazil. I've never spoken to them before. I'm saying the day we went to, because of course as a minister, I try to interact with everybody, check on everybody to see if everybody's okay. Never, not once. So why would somebody manufacture such a story and go to the extent that they have a tape? There are laws in this land, I'm a public figure. I'm subject to public scrutiny, but there's a limit that you can go. Okay? There are laws in this country.
You sound angry, Elvis. You're angry.
No, it's very. I was shocked. I've gone beyond anger. Okay? I was shocked.
Do you think that is foolishness?
I think it's foolishness. What is beyond foolishness?
Stupid.
Thank you. Because I mean, if you're going to say something that maybe you saw but you didn't understand. you know, that can happen, okay? But something that did not happen, I am saying, and quote me any day, and I challenge anybody, I did not see them, not even once, not for 1 second. So on what basis do you then say you saw me chilling with them and I gave them 25,000 and had sex with them and paid them? You know, you are insulting womanhood. And I hope that the ladies will take action, because I'm looking at my options. It's absolutely not right, you know. And why all these orchestrations? Okay, and you will see the video. You will see where the supporters.
Let's come to that. These supporters, there were videos that the photographs started showing on they living in dilapidated places. They said there's a hostel, abandoned hostel that you sort of put them in, and some of them were also in Accra. They didn't go until some of them were airborne when we exited the World Cup. And then in Brazil, they couldn't travel from one place to go and watch. A lot of confusion.
Good.
So you sent some supporters there. They saw the US game. They couldn't travel to watch the game against Germany. They had to see it on television. Some didn't even see it at all. They were very angry with you. They said they were living in horrible places. I don't know where to start, but let's start from, did the supporters get to Brazil? And if they did they see the games?
Okay. Let me start from before we left for Brazil. We had an arrangement. In the past, and I happened to have been involved accidentally with the 2010 World Cup. What happened? I was there when the late President Mills called me and said, there's a crisis at Elwak, I should go and see what was happening. I got there were thousands of people there stranded. They said they had been promised, some had visas and all that, and they were supposed to go to Brazil and they were stranded. So the first thing I did was to organize a place to be cleaned up, got them food and everything, and then started looking at it.
This 2010?
Yes, 2010. What I found out was that they were all promised flights. When the flights come, somehow other people will board the flights, because nobody is crazy to come from Fanchineko or Hehe or wherever it is, carrying his bag that he's traveling, if he's not been given any assurance. Okay? So they came with that confidence that they were going to travel. And they showed me a list on which their names were. So when I then became sports minister, I started finding out. And I found out that more often than not, what happened was that some of the travel agencies, what they do is that because government pays maybe for 1,000 people, they would then decide that they will charge, they will take other people who are not part of the 1,000 and then put them on the flights. Okay? And then the government people were left behind.
Oh, but that's corruption.
Well, I mean, that was what I found out.
So if they say a space for 1,000, they will take maybe 700?
Good.
And sell out 300 tickets?
Okay. Yeah, because you ask yourself, how come that those people were stranded? So I thought I was going to put in a system that would mitigate this. So first of all, the first step was that, look, let's make the process a little more open. So we had 10 travel and tour companies coming. They went through a rigorous process. We ended up in Akosombo, you know, and we selected 3 of them. And they were to form a consortium and work together. And so every day before a flight departs, we have a manifest. It's agreed with, we meet with, and there were 3 of them, so each one has a flight a day. So if today is your turn, we sit with you. And I was then in Brazil, but the team sits with you. We agree, this is the manifest. These are the people flying, business, ordinary. So we all agree. And then they get to the airport. When they get to the airport, what happens is that they realize that of the 270 names they have, 70 people who are not on the list have already boarded. Now, what happens is that because it's the tour operators who charter the aircraft, they charter. So the ground operations people, they will listen to them.
To the tour operator.
Exactly.
Yeah. So if you say pick this passenger, that's the passenger they'll pick.
So the confusion in Accra, that's where it started from. So people came because by 12 o'clock, we had tags. We thought we were very smart, so we had tags with security features. So we'll give you a tag, it cannot be faked. So we're so confident that with this, it's like knowing that people would commit a crime here. You've gone to put video cameras there, you say video camera here, but it still happened. So the first day it happened, and we said no. They said, okay, the following day, we're going to add it, the 70 to the next group. The following day, it happened again, so we had a backlog. The third day, it happened again.
Wow.
And these are verifiable. We have the manifest. We have the list of people who went. These are I'm not making these things up. I have them now.
So this is the travel and tour operators letting you down.
Exactly. Then the people got to Brazil. Now, I was shocked when they got to Brazil they were picked by air-conditioned buses to the airport and all that. And we have videos of where they lived. Now, some of the travel and tour people are claiming that we took their job from them and they were going to give the people hotels. They were going to charge us average of $150, $200 per room. Okay?
Per night.
Yes. We didn't have money. You see, people should understand that the 2014 supporters organization was very different from the previous ones. We didn't have money sitting down. So in every situation, we had to economize. We realized that that was going to be very difficult for us. We didn't have that kind of money. So when the advanced team went, they went and found a place. It's like Holy Trinity. So okay? It's a resort, Madunas. And you can Google and check. Madunas Resort in Natal. Okay? And it's a huge place, big place. And it had rooms that were going to charge us below $50. I mean, if you were in my situation and you didn't have money. So we said, look, we'll take care of the accommodation so that you take care of the flights. And then, of course, with the hotels, the people were not going to be in one place. They were going to be scattered. And in terms of organization, when you wanted to move people, it was going to be very difficult. So we said, look, we'll get the women to cook for them. Initially, the supporters were saying, we should give them money. Because I had been there earlier, and I knew the language situation and the food situation and the cost of living, we managed to convince them. When they went, they all thanked us that the decision we took to provide them food was a very good decision.
What kind of beds did they sleep on in this Maduna's place?
There are different kinds of beds.
Do they sleep on bunk beds?
There are some rooms that have bunk beds. But you see, pictures don't lie. You will see the video.
They will be showing the video.
Every room has plasma TV, their own toilet and bath. There are about 3 swimming pools in that place, lakeside view. I mean, and you will see them and you hear them saying, and food. They were buffet. They were eating all kinds of food. Buffet. They had more than enough food left over.
Ghanaian food?
Ghanaian food. I'm saying video doesn't lie. Video doesn't lie. So I'm told that some people came to the camp, they will lie on the floor and ask people to take them pictures, and then they'll send it down. As to who orchestrated them, who made them do that.
They were manufacturing photographs to indicate that their lifestyles were challenged.
You will see the video. And GTV was there. With the members of parliament. So independently, apart from our video, you can check from GTV. You collaborate with them. Check from GTV. They should show you their tape. Don't even take my tape. Don't take my word. Okay? So that was also another manufactured lie. Now, when it came to Natal, there was no problem. We had bought match tickets in advance, so the supporters were able to watch the match. When it came to Fortaleza, because of
the distance between Natal and Fortaleza?
Fortaleza is 6 hours by bus and 45 minutes by flight. Because of the experience, we started contemplating, look, let our people go by bus. And we had spoken to them and they were ready. Even people like Professor Alabi were ready. They said they would join. It's going to be very exciting. The last minute, where the travel and tour person who was to be the one doing the flights came and said, look, I've gotten you flights. It's 45 minutes. And of course, if you have to choose between 6-hour bus ride and 45 minutes, you choose 45 minutes. So we decided that, okay, we'll go on a flight. We arranged buses to take the people to the airport. They got to the airport. Out of almost 600 people, he was able to fly only 218. There were so many.
Did he promise to fly 600 people?
Of course. He was supposed to take everybody. Because we had match tickets for them. And the rest of the match tickets, we brought them. We'll show them to you. And so he was able to take only. The rest, there was confusion and chaos. Superintendent Yakubu, he did an excellent job, had to mobilize buses to take them to the event ground to wait. Now, those who went to watch the match, the arrangement was that after the match, they will be flown back to Natal. What happened? They got to the airport. They said they couldn't find the travel agents. They didn't hear anybody. Nobody was telling them anything. Eventually, around 1:30, they were told that there was a problem with the flight or documents or cracked windscreen. There were so many stories. You didn't know which one to believe. So they slept at the airport. So indeed, if you saw pictures of people sleeping on the floor in the airport, that really happened. And I felt so ashamed. I felt so bad because you see, when you put in place measures and plans, a foolproof plan in your view, and people on the other end let you down so badly, I mean, it's devastating. So they were so angry, so I had to go back there, held a forum with them, apologize and explain to them it was not my doing, but I take responsibility again and explain to them. So they said, look, Brasilia is 23 hours by road. It's 2 hours plus by flight.
This was our game against Portugal.
Yes. So because of what happened, we want to go by road. I said yes.
Supporters opted to go by road?
Yes. I said yes. We will go by road.
23 hours?
Yes.
Almost a day?
Yes. However, if the agent is able to convince that beyond a shadow of a doubt that he could fly us, then we'll look at the flight. My team held 5 meetings with this agent. He gave all the
Is this agent Ghanaian?
Yes.
Ghanaian agent?
Yes.
Working from Ghana or working from Brazil?
Working from Ghana.
But who happened to be in Brazil?
Yes. Because one agent was supposed to lead that effort.
Okay.
Give all the assurances, and that he was going to do it in such a manner that the people will even forget the pain of what happened in Fortaleza. So the idea was that the previous night, they were going to fly the people, a first batch, and then the following morning, they will fly 2 batches. And we had tickets. We brought all the match tickets. Brasilia, the final match. 9 p.m., I'm in Brasilia. I get a call.
This is the day before the game?
The day before. Oh, there's a problem. What's the problem? The aircraft that we were going to use, not knowing they didn't have a license to fly domestic. And they flew domestic, so their license has been seized. Paul, I wanted the earth to open and swallow me. I said, what is going on? After all this, that forum that we held, the anger, the tension, which was not doing of mine, but because I took the people there, I had to take responsibility and apologize. I spent over 4 hours just trying to explain things to them. And you give us all the assurance, multiple assurances. I mean, overwhelming assurance. And we had 5 days. So we felt that, look, if there were any challenges, there was enough time to correct them. At this time of the night, well, I'm sorry. I'm not
9 p.m. before the next day.
Exactly.
So less than 24 hours before kickoff.
By which time, the first flight that was supposed to have gone to Brasilia, because we had arranged hostel in Brasilia for them to sleep
overnight.
And eat. Exactly. Okay? Because we felt that the match was at 1 o'clock. So if we risked doing 3 flights the following day, it may be difficult.
Yeah.
So clear one group and then 2 flights, we can do it before 1 o'clock. And we had arranged buses to pick them. So I said, no, this one is too much. Go to the camp and go and meet. We had formed a supporters management and welfare group, of 30 people. Go and meet them and tell them your own story. Because it was just too much.
You were already at the match venue?
Yes. And go and tell them. Go and tell them.
So the supporters didn't go to see the Portugal game?
No, they didn't.
So we didn't have any supporters in the stadium?
No, we didn't. Apart from those that went, the GMPC people, individuals and other people who came from the diaspora. And we had match tickets. We have them in bulk. In fact,
you don't want to tell us who the travel agent is? I'm
saying that I heard that the president has said there will be an inquiry. I'm waiting for the committee to be set up. If it's
then you can divulge this information.
Divulge all this information.
That must have been very hard on you.
I was broken. I was devastated because then. So I kept wondering, but too many coincidences. What is going on? Because on my part and not the part of the team, we had done everything. We don't charter planes by ourselves. You give it to somebody, an agent. Now, he raises issues about late payment and all that. Yet prior to all this, we had asked them, do you have the capacity to pre-finance? They said yes.
Well, the agent is saying that you didn't pay him.
Yes.
Is that why he didn't pay the people?
Early.
Pay him early enough.
Early. Okay. We asked, do you have the capacity to pre-finance? They're denying that. But they don't know that we have documentation to all this effect.
Where they agreed that they could pre-finance.
Pre-finance. But even be that as it may, if you are an agent and a professional, and you know that to be able to deliver a service, you needed to be paid maybe 1 week or 1 month. You don't take late payments and promise a service and later on come and use that as an excuse. It's unprofessional. So I had to then bear the brunt of all these mishaps. And it was terrible. And then, of course, I now had to go to the Air Force Base with General Wallace Bedema and through customs. The money came, and then we went and shared the money. And we're looking forward to the next game. And again,
which plane, brother buddy?
I cannot disclose that for security reasons.
Were you in regular communication with the president of Ghana?
I spoke to the president the day before the day of the match with our second match, and then the Tuesday before the Wednesday that the money came. But I was regular communication with all the, for security reasons I cannot mention names, but as I told you, constant communication almost on an hourly basis. You know, okay, we've got this document now file coordinates have been filed now.
Are you disappointed with the conduct of the players, your friends?
Oh, I am, absolutely. I mean, look, there's something that went wrong that I cannot put my hands on it.
Who are you most disappointed in?
When I get the requisite platform, I mean, but for instance, if you have a player, when the president wanted to speak to the players on the day of the second match, the Germany match, yeah. And we had arranged, we were going to put him on Skype.
The president on Skype, yeah?
Yes, exactly. So
to the hotel of the team?
Yes, and they had their last technical meeting. And we went in there, and they had just finished the meeting. We were just about to connect, and they started leaving.
The players started leaving?
Yes.
Were they told that the president is about to speak to you?
It was, the coach was supposed to have told them. But at least when we got there, we told them. Okay, I told them. And then one particular player said, look, the president, please, can you just spare us a few minutes? He said, no, dressing room. And then he added, I hope he doesn't speak for 1 hour. That is...
I don't understand it. The player was saying that this communication with the president is better than in the dressing room.
Dressing room.
They want a
fair enough.
Because they're in a hurry or something.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, they want to get ready for the
exactly.
stadium.
And fair enough.
Yeah, okay.
And then he retorted, I hope he doesn't speak for 1 hour. That is absolutely disrespectful. They're talking about the president of the land, the commander-in-chief. Under no circumstances, you know.
But you don't want to tell us which player did this?
But I'm saying that there will be a proper forum where this will maybe discussed. Remember that I have not briefed my bosses yet.
Yeah, sufficiently.
Wow, this hijacked me.
So did you chastise this player? Did you think that he should be sort of kicked out of the camp? Because I'll come to those issues, which I have more questions for the GFA, but as leader of the delegation.
You had a match immediately. There was a match going to go on, you know.
Yeah,
so at that point, I didn't even tell anybody until afterwards. Because sometimes you have to manage.
So did the president speak to them in the dressing room anyway?
Yes, he did. It's on my phone, you know. So those who say I was not in touch with the president, Ben Dochimalo was the one who called me on his phone, and the president, and on my phone with his phone, and the president spoke to them. We put it on speaker, and they all heard him. He encouraged them, motivated them, inspired them, and he spoke to them. So, but in the course of, you know, all these transactions, I was in touch with the relevant authorities. How would I have known that?
I'll come to this conspiracy theory because I've seen an article by Manasseh Azuri on Joy Online where he alludes to a bit of that. So we have to talk about it. But do you want to talk about the incident in which two players were sacked from the camp? Sule Muntari and Kevin Prince Boateng.
I was not there when the actual fight took place. I'm told that at one training session, there was an incident between Kevin and the coach, and his general demeanor and behavior were not acceptable. And the Sule issue, I mean, which I thought was very, very bad. When I came and I was briefed, I asked them, why didn't you call police? Because
to do what?
Assault is assault. Somebody assaults somebody.
Brazilian police?
Yes.
To arrest our player.
But again, you know, because I was shocked. I mean, under no circumstances should that happen, you know, where people like Sickens, I'm saying that, okay, maybe I'm a young man.
What are Sickens done?
It was insulted openly.
For Mr. Banfo?
Yes.
You
can ask him. He's your friend.
Yeah,
so
I know him.
Do a special session and go to them and they'll tell you their story.
He was insulted?
They were not insulted, they will beat him up.
The players?
Paul, for me, what happened was horrendous. I don't know how else to describe it. We may have made mistakes, okay? As I said, perhaps from the first beginning, when they said they wanted their money anyhow, and they wanted the extra, because once we gave in to the 100,000, then of course they knew they could push us. We should have called their bluff. However, I'm sure that Ghanaians would have said, Minister, and so if you had called their bluff and they had boycotted from the beginning, I'm sure the story would have been different. So you call it the benefit of the
unlived hindsight, yeah. They won't boycott the first World Cup
benefit of the unlived experience.
So
I take responsibility for that, even though, like I said, we had measures in place, okay? But I mean, you didn't expect that things would get.
So was the money the matter that brought about everything else?
I believe so. It was money. They wanted their money. Even after the president has spoken to them, I'm told that apart from the calls through my phone, there were several other calls. The money to, I mean,
but there's generally a bad blood now between government and the playing body of the Black Stars.
I don't think so.
There's
no bad blood.
I mean, you are very disappointed. These players,
of course, being disappointed.
We speak with them. We saw you praying with them in dressing rooms and all of that. But you are very disappointed with them.
If I'm disappointed,
two of the players were sacked. They also are knocking on our doors to be given interviews. They think they have something to say.
Well, I mean, they may have
that shouldn't happen.
They may have legitimate issues, but I don't think getting up to punch a member of the FA is acceptable. You see, we must be very careful.
If the member of the FA punched him first,
no,
you said you were not there.
No, but I've been properly briefed. Okay,
because you believe those who briefed you.
No, but I mean, if you have multiple, and there are security people there. If I say I'm briefed, it doesn't mean that I just listen. Okay. I mean, I got briefed.
Okay.
It was a terrible experience. See, please, let's
the
not. You don't like Kwesi Nyantakyi. You don't like me. If something is wrong, please, it is wrong.
The player was not hit first?
No.
He hit.
Double.
Wow.
It cannot be right.
That's very bad.
Under any circumstance. See, let's stop this rationalization. I'm saying that we may have made mistakes. We are human, and I'm ready to accept my faults. I've already paid the price, okay? Kwesi, you may not like him. Whatever the FA, you may not like them. But we must maintain certain principles. There are certain lines you cannot cross.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I agree with
you. Don't go to training and say certain things about your coach. Something referee. Because the coach is the one who acts as a referee. I don't want to use the word.
Yeah.
Something referee. He asks you, hey, am I the one you're talking to? No. And you say it again. That cannot be right.
That's horrible.
Horrible. Horrendous.
Do you regret having had to play a role in getting Kevin Prince Boateng to play for the Black Stars again?
With the benefit of hindsight, I think that we could have done without people like that. And I'm being very, very frank. Because as I told you, this is a team that I've been with throughout the qualifiers. And there was always harmony. There was always unity. We had our differences. We would negotiate and everything. But I think that, and mind you, he has a different cultural orientation. Okay? Most of the guys have a base, culturally based. So there's a way in which, we relate to them. But
you know, the BBC is saying that Ghana is the team that could have really picked 9 points from their group.
Oh, but look at
got only one.
First
we could
match,
have beaten the Americans.
First match, I think that
the
Americans were mentally stronger than us.
Given the early goal that is
exactly. So you can let it go. But the German match,
we could have beaten
them. Look at the last two clear chances.
Could have beaten the Portuguese.
And that is what breaks my heart. And that is why I understand, even though there's a lot of allegations and against me, which I respond to appropriately, I understand the pain of Ghanaians. Because I was totally heartbroken. This was our chance. And once we had qualified, the sky would have been the limit. And as to how, whatever we did wrong or didn't do, and how more especially the players didn't see the bigger picture, that you had the whole world stage, the whole world, audience, and there was so much promise. Look at our match against Portugal. The 2 goals, 2 mistakes. We could have won. They lost 2, and I kept on making this point that your money will come. If you don't go for training, it is going to affect your preparation. How are you going to recover?
How did they answer that?
We are the players. We know what to do.
Well, that's what they said?
Yeah.
This must have been very tough for you, sir. So Minister of State of Cabinet rank.
Did
you feel disrespected?
To be fair to the players, at no point did they directly disrespect me. Let me just say that me personally, but from what I've told you, the comments that the gentleman made, you know, when the president wanted to speak to him, and then, you know, the insistence, because disrespect is not just you're a fool, but when we tell you we're going to get your money, we have practical challenges. Aircraft landing rights, Saturday, Sunday, they didn't work. Monday was a holiday. So we'll get it. Because we were so desperate. And for the FA, I must say, we were all very desperate because we knew that we had a good chance to make history.
The World Cup.
And that is why...
What about this incident that also, it's a footballing incident really. Maybe you may have been briefed. Goalkeeper Kwara was dropped because he couldn't communicate in G and Ghana.
I don't know about
ahead
that.
of the German game.
I don't know about that.
For Fatah Dauda.
I don't know about that.
Who had a great day against Germany anyway. No,
I don't know about that. What I try to do is not to interfere with the coach's technical selection. What I do is to encourage the coach and motivate and inspire the players. That's what I do. So I don't get into all that.
What do you think should be the future of the team? Should we overhaul it?
Absolutely.
Close it down?
Absolutely.
Sack everybody?
Not sack everybody. I mean, come on.
Should we change the captain? There's a lot of groundswell discussion in the beer bars and on the street.
Let me tell you
Asamoah Gyan is captain now. Should the day you become captain? International media are also looking at...
That's not my job.
I know, but you're a football fan.
And then again, you've forgotten that I'm no longer sports minister.
But you're a football
I'm minister
fan.
without portfolio.
Yes, but you're a football fan. You know.
I don't know where my office is.
What do you think? What do you think? How did you receive that information anyway? How did you receive that information?
Well,
there was a lot of pressure, though. I mean, you may not have been here, but I'm sure you monitor social media. There was a lot of pressure on the minister. Sack Elvis. There was a lot of pressure on the president to do that. I don't know whether you've been sacked or you haven't been sacked. I don't think it's a sack. You're still a member of the government, and with a ministerial job, what is high enough because it's very close to the president. How did you receive that information?
Well, I was called and I was told that as part of the president's restructuring of his cabinet, my ministry will be affected, and I've been moved to the presidency.
And your deputy?
Yes, yes.
He was also removed from the
Yes.
But the biggest letdown, perhaps, was the public announcement that money was going to be on an aircraft. That really was very, very bad. Yeah,
that was most unfortunate. I mean, as I told you, we had been doing this since Friday. Very quiet.
Nobody
with the
knew,
security people. Nobody knew about it, and so it wasn't meant to be announced.
Is it part of the pressure that perhaps the local media were putting on him?
That's what I wanted to say. That's what I wanted to say. That
I
don't think that my deputy wanted to create chaos. I don't think so. I think that it was maybe I was not here and there was pressure. Is the money going to come? Where is the money? So out of that pressure, and all of us, we're human. Sometimes we crumble under pressure, you know, and you, the media, you are relentless and persistent. So I think that out of that pressure, he just blurted it out.
Trying to say that everything is under control.
And he didn't realize the ramifications and impact because it became an international incident. But he's human. I mean, under the circumstances, you know, but we had been doing this from Friday, Saturday, and this plane would have come in quietly.
So if you had to pay winning bonus, did you have money to do that? Would you have money in Brazil? Assuming that we had beaten the Americans, you'd have paid a winning bonus of several thousands?
We had sufficient money. Government had released money to us to cover.
Yeah, but you were in Brazil.
Yeah.
Did you have money to pay winning bonus if we had beaten the Americans?
You don't pay like after every match.
How do you pay?
That, you know, like after the
qualifying stages.
Then you
pay
off
all the winning bonus.
Exactly.
Did you have money to do
We
that?
had money.
To do it in cash?
I cannot say that. Okay. But because the previous arrangement was that we're going to pay everything in cash, the immediate issue was the appearance fees. That was the immediate issue. And we needed to clear that.
Because the money that you may have had in Brazil for winning bonus, was it not enough to pay the appearance fees?
The lingering issue was that, look, at a point, I wanted to dare everybody and say, look, we would put the money in your account.
Yes.
Damn the consequences.
And show the evidence that the money is in your account.
But again, you have a situation where the coach, the team, the FA, everybody is saying, look. And you had also promised, and the president had been forced, in a way, to also promise, based on our promises, that the money will come. And we had made enough arrangements for the money to come, so there was no point going back.
Elvis, you've been a politician for a long time. 2000, you ran for parliament and actually opened up the constituency to give NDC possibilities. 8 years later, President Mahama won the presidential election of Ayawaso West Wogon, which was not something people thought about before. In 2004, you were key on Professor Mills's campaign. Campaign manager all over the country. I remember I spoke to you sometime 2005, and you said, there are only few people who know Ghana better than you, because you had been around with Professor Mills. You were also part of getting Professor Mills to be re-elected as the NDC flag bearer. And then in that famous Watershed 2008 election again, you were key when Professor Mills was announcing his victory. You were with him. So you are very experienced in politics. Do you think that you had let the president of Ghana down by putting him in the firing line with the players, that you couldn't give him that cover?
I apologized to Ghanaians a while ago, and I'm going to apologize to the president, because when the cup came to Ghana, and he was the only person who had the authority to hold the cup, I told him, sir, pray over this cup, because I believe we can bring this cup home. And I believed it.
This is the Coca-Cola World Cup.
Yes. Yeah. And I was very confident that worst case we'll get to the finals.
Final?
Yes.
Worst?
Yes.
Okay.
Because, I mean, we had done a lot of things that I cannot go into. I prayed and...
But we had the capacity
Exactly.
We had the talents to do that.
So yes, I have let down the president by not being able to achieve my objective. That's one. I have let down Ghanaians because Ghanaians were expecting us to do better. But based on all these things that I've told you, you would see that there were circumstances beyond everybody's control. There were circumstances beyond everybody's control.
So your angle of the story is players held Ghana to ransom?
I believe so.
The Black Stars?
Yes.
Our heroes? They held us to ransom?
Well, I've told you the story. I've told you the story.
Should we punish them?
How do you punish them?
Sack them from the team?
No, you can't do that. Those individuals that we feel that are not disciplined enough, the coach and
should we promote the junior side quickly?
You don't do that. It's not a wholesale thing. There are good people in the team. The captain. I felt sorry for Adom-Otchere, let me be honest, because he kept on telling me, look, Minister, I understand what you're saying, but here is a situation where they don't even listen to me anymore. So, yes, all that you're saying is true, but just bring us the money. And I could just feel,
Let's talk about political conspiracy now, Mr. Elvis Afriyie Ankrah. There's an article that talks about that political conspiracy against you. There are discussions that you, because of the success politically and even the way in which you qualified for the World Cup, which is the best way that Ghana has ever qualified for World Cup, routing Egypt 5-1 at the Kumasi Sports Stadium, 6-1 actually, became international headlines, and the way in which we played in that game was just out of this world, and that's where we began to hope that this time the World Cup will take us to the semi-final. That these successes have occasioned a certain ambition in you, that perhaps you are thinking politically of bigger opportunities, and that may have underpinned this conspiracy that is being written, that people are thinking about pulling you down. Do you feel that some people are against you, particularly within your own party?
Well, one has to be very careful about conspiracy theories, because if you are not careful, you become paranoid. There are things that in this particular event, a number of regrets that I said, insist that, take it or leave it, but the repercussions. Number two, supporters, when the committee is established, I will advise that henceforth the ministry should have nothing to do with supporters. Because I saw people in Accra who were crying and begging me, Minister, you take us, even if it's the floor, we'll sleep. And then they get there and it's a different story. It doesn't matter how much.
But do you think other politicians are against you?
I've just been wondering. For example, before the budget for the World Cup, which doesn't come to me, was approved, an NDC paper said I was going to siphon the money, part of the money, to contest presidential elections. This is absolutely preposterous.
Which presidential elections?
I don't know. You should go and do your research and ask him which one. When all these incidents happen, I'm told that one paper, again, maybe middle or leaning closer to us, says I have something about me my presidential ambitions shattered. Where is this one coming from? Look, Paul, look into my eyes, and I'm telling all Ghanaians, I am just an ordinary Ghanaian, NDC. My attitude is that every assignment that I'm given, I do it all with my spirit, my will, my emotions. I give it my all. That is my attitude. Every single assignment that I've been given. My ambition is to ensure that the government succeeds, the president gets a second term. That is my ambition, and I've made it very, very clear. I'm a totally committed member of the NDC, committed to the party, committed to the Better Ghana agenda. No more, no less. I just cannot fathom whether it is some spiritualist or anybody who has told somebody something, because it doesn't make sense. Paul, you've known me for a long time, since SRC, Nooks, and all that, so many years. Have I ever discussed, at least you are a political journalist, in quotes, okay? And we are quite close. Have I ever discussed such a thing with you before? My wife, there's nothing like that. So I don't know where it's coming from. Of course, you hear party people, oh, one day you'll be general. If there's any position that I've coveted, okay?
You told me general secretary, you told me.
But it was on condition that if I see Adom-Otchere decides that he won't contest, because I thought he was a fantastic general secretary. I served under him. He's doing a fantastic job. And I'm not afraid of anybody. If I want any position, I will declare, and no man can stop me.
So you don't want to be president?
No. Why should I?
You support President Mahama?
1000%. It's ridiculous.
Well, I remember that when President Mahama was named as vice president, I mean, maybe next time we can talk about that, that you did that announcement in Kama Conference Center. You know, that
with
coup d'etat.
With a lot of consequences.
Yeah.
You know, it cost me some relationships at some very strategic places, but we felt it was the right thing to do. He was our man. 2004, we were the ones rooting for him solidly, because I was the deputy campaign manager for Prof, and we were rooting for him solidly because we believed that he had all the qualities. And in 2008, all kinds of things happened which we cannot discuss, and we rooted solidly for him. And I believe that he's the most experienced, qualified person, from assemblyman, member of parliament, deputy minister, vice president. He was president before he was elected president. You know, knowledgeable. You should see him in cabinet. On top of the issues, understands the issues, knows where to take this country.
But maybe you're thinking that after President Mahama, maybe
it's ridiculous.
Maybe you want to be.
I mean, you've entered my head.
No, I haven't. But you're a politician, so you're looking for ambitions.
You know, that's when, you know, I said something after that story came, that I was going to siphon money from the World Cup budget to contest President Mahama. And I said, what? This is so bizarre. And I knew it was preposterous, but you never know how these things will enter people's mind. So I then made a statement that, look, if that is what they think, I will work hard to ensure that President Mahama wins 2016, and I'll leave the politics for them. Because today there's this headline, tomorrow there's this headline, there's this article in this on this social platform, a rumor, allegation, lie. It finds itself into mainstream media. Do you believe that? Look at me. That they said I'm the 13th richest man in Ghana.
Yeah, I read that.
Can you believe that? Is that not preposterous?
You're not rich?
My goodness. I am blessed. The little I get, it takes care of me and my family with a little to spare. But for anybody to suggest that I'm not even among the first 100,000, it's ridiculous. So who is spinning that? Is it coincidental?
But that should be expected in politics. I mean, it's political opponents, maybe. Within, yeah. Within, yeah, more than without, yeah.
Well, they should just leave me alone.
There's also some politics playing out.
You know, you see, this is my terrain, okay? I mean, I ran operations for the party, okay? So I know how to do these things better.
So you will hit back?
No. These things are done for election purposes.
Yeah.
3 months you do it, and then you stay back, you know. So, I mean, come on. It will not be in anybody's interest.
There's going to be another big major battle at the FA next year where the president comes up for re-election. I don't know whether you're interested or you're not interested.
In the FA election?
Not yourself, but whether you're interested in commenting about it, because Kwesi Nyantakyi is going to come up for re-election.
Has he told you that?
I think he would. There's going to be people going to challenge him, some from within the... Could that affect stability of sports in Ghana, football in particular? Black Stars are playing African Cup of Nations. There's Commonwealth Games going up. a few years' time, a few months maybe, the World Cup qualifiers will begin again. Do you think we need stability at the FA?
I think that Untitled and his team, they've done well in spite of their shortcomings. They have shortcomings, they are human, qualifying as 1, 2, 3. So I got close to the workings of it's a very difficult job, and they have their own internal mechanisms for electing people and successors, and I leave that to them. It's not part of my forte.
Well, is there anything else that we have not covered? Minister, thank you very much for this exclusive. I think that is
this was meant to be 10 minutes.
Yeah. Wow. Anyway, what can we say? So where do you go from here? Minister in the office of the president. What do you be taking care of?
I'll report to my boss, the president, and the chief of staff, and they would give me my marching orders.
So we will see you again on public platform. We'll see you on.
I intend to.
There's party elections soon.
First of all,
are you thinking of parliament?
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
And again, you see, there was a time when after 2000, people insisted that I wanted to go for Keta, I wanted to go for Akan because I come from those places. Yeah. I wanted to go for West Wogon. In fact, some of the incumbent MPs were not even talking to me.
Oh, I see.
And I said, I don't have that interest. Can't you believe me? I don't. If I want something, Paul, I'll announce it and go for it. I'll win or lose. Nobody can stop me. It's God who determines everybody's destiny. But I don't, okay? I have books in manuscript that I'm writing. I don't have time. I want to take a short break, you know. I'll take a leave after I've been given my marching orders, reflect, you know, meditate and seek the face of God.
What have you done with your international relations degree?
Oh, I use it when I'm on the international arena.
You still miss being SRC president at Legon?
Oh, no, I've moved on.
Yeah, you have.
I've moved on. So,
but all of you guys around that area are still very firmly in control. Mahamayai guys here, and Haruna Idrisu is there, and
Baba Jamal.
Yeah, Baba Jamal is there, and you're all doing very well. I'm sure that the Legon class of the 90s, late 90s, we're very proud of you. Thank you, Minister.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Regards to your family.
Thank you.
That was Elvis. Nothing more to say. Good night.